Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Good morning, everyone. Time is around 9:28-ish. As a kind reminder, if you are registered to speak today, please make sure that the light is on the microphone. And before you leave the podium, please make sure to push the button to turn the light off so that it mutes in between speakers, as I'm about to do right now.
Start at 9:45. We have some traffic issues with one of our commissioners. So if you don't mind, thank you. Good morning and welcome to the June 6, 2025 meeting of the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. The time is 9:40 a.m. Apologies for the tardiness. I'm joined by my colleagues, Commissioner Janeka and Commissioner Gonzalez, who is virtual today, my General Counsel, Mary Smith, and our Public Interest Counsel, Garrett Arthur. For each item that argument and discussion is allowed, we will inform the parties and the public of time limits for their discussion. Registration closed at 9:30, but if you'd like to address the commission on a particular item, please visit our registration table, or if you're in person or if you're on the webinar, email agenda@tcq.texas.gov with your name, affiliation, and item that you would like to comment on. We will do our best to accommodate that request, of course. For those making presentations, please wait to begin your presentation until I have asked you to begin speaking. Good morning, Sheldon. We know it's okay. We started early. It's my fault. And please check to make sure that your line is unmuted before proceeding, and everyone could silence their phones. That's been quite the adventure lately. Before we get started, there are two things I'd like to touch on. Catherine Thigpen, wave. Wave. The 89th Texas Legislature sine died, and we had an amazing, exceptional session. Catherine Thigpen and her whole crew and the whole agency really delivered. I was looking at our stats of what the legislature had enough confidence to bless us with and fund for the next biennium. 175 new FTEs. Desperately needed new FTEs. They also acknowledged the importance of our mission by appropriating $32 million for salary adjustments to our current employees. I cannot tell you how important this was, and it was our #1 priority going into session. Our staff are now eligible to receive on-call and overtime pay when performing emergency response duties. We'll add 19 employees to handle the increased number of complex permits for produced water, which is a coming. TCQ also added 9 new employees to help implement SB 7, the generational investment of over $20 billion in water infrastructure during the next 2 decades. Our state is growing at 1,358 citizens a day. TCQ's got to keep up, and we will. And the legislature realized that this agency needed some more resources, and we've done such an exceptional job in the past years. They had confidence in us and gave us what we needed. And that is truly in part to the effort of Catherine Thigpen, Kelly Keel, Steve Shar, and the whole team, the whole IGR team. I can't thank y'all enough. You've done a tremendous job. You don't like to be recognized at all. She is very, I think she's upset with me right now for bragging on her, but I'm just so very pleased. It was first session for Team Pop, and it went beautifully. So thank you very much. Second of all, trade fair. Trade fair was 2 days this week, and we had over 4,100 registered attendees and participants. 4,100. That is larger than our agency, and that's not even counting the TCEQ staff. I went on Wednesday and toured it and talked to everyone and saw some panels, and the agenda was so good. I had a really hard time picking which panel I wanted to go to, but it was my first trade fair as chairwoman, and I was just blown away. Bobby, what did you attend?
I'm so glad. I noted that you stopped by, saw our agency, shared some good pictures of Executive Director Keel and you visiting with many of our different trade fair staff and booths we had available. I attended most of the first day, participating in some of the border track discussions and stopped in a few of the panels around. It's such a really exciting thing. Seeing it in a new place this year, definitely through everyone. We're eager to hear from all the attendees how it was different, how that improved things, how it posed new challenges. We've got, I think the next 2 years after this one, we'll return back to that location in San Antonio, but we're grateful to have everybody continue to engage in that really important opportunity for our staff to both educate the public, but also hear from and respond with many of those stakeholders that deal with us every day. Thank you for coming to it.
Absolutely. This agency is all about continuous improvement, but I don't know how much more we could improve upon this event. It was really tremendous. And Ryan Weiss and his whole staff really delivered. So thank y'all for that. And with that, we will move to agenda. Mary, the first item, please.
Item number 1 is the consideration of the ALJ's proposal for decision and order concerning the application by Gildan Blair Blackburn and Timothy Edward Carter for new Texas Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permit number WQ00161240001. Presentations will begin with the applicants, followed by the protestants, the ED, and OPIC. The applicants collectively, protestants collectively, the ED and OPIC will each have 5 minutes of oral argument time. Applicants may save time for rebuttal as they bear the burden of proof on this application. I believe to start things off, we have Mr. Peter Gregg for the applicants.
Good morning, Chairwoman, Commissioners, General Counsel. My name is Peter Gregg with Gregg Law PC, representing the applicants in this matter. I will be brief, at least in this initial comment. We believe that the administrative law judge got this exactly right. That's an opinion shared by the executive director as well as OPIC on this application. There were 5 issues referred. Only 1 issue was ultimately contested on the issue of water quality. On that issue, there was effectively a single issue in dispute or raised by the protestants, and that's whether the executive director properly applied the Qualtex model in evaluating the receiving stream. Protestants asserted that site-specific data should have been used, but they presented no site-specific data to use, that their search should have been used. So it's our firm position, as confirmed by the administrative law judge, that Qualtex was properly used with the proper inputs. We do agree with the limited non-substantive proposed changes that the executive director has offered. Otherwise, we request approval of the PFD and issuance of the permit. And with that, I'll reserve my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gregg. We'll hear from the protestants.
We don't have anyone signed in for the protestants. Just take a look at the audience and see if anybody.
I know the attorney for the protestants, and I do not see him in the crowd.
Okay.
Well, we will move on to the ED.
Good morning, Chairwoman, Commissioners, General Counsel, and Public Interest Counsel. I'm Aubrey Puelka, representing the Executive Director. With me today is Abdur Rahim with the Water Quality Division. Regarding the 5 referred issues, the Executive Director supports the Administrative Law Judge's conclusions for all issues. The Administrative Law Judges found that the draft permit will be protective of water quality in accordance with the Texas Surface Water Quality Standards. The ALJ has also found that the draft permit will be protective of human health, protective against nuisance odor, and complies with the state's regionalization policy. In the absence of evidence that the draft permit violates a specifically applicable state or federal requirement, the ALJ has recommended issuance of the draft permit and adopting all findings of fact and conclusions of law contained in the proposed order. The Executive Director respectfully recommends the Commission adopt the ALJ's findings of fact and conclusions of law contained in the proposed order with the exceptions as noted by the ED, grant the application and issue the draft permit without changes. Thank you, and we're available for questions.
Thank you, Aubrey. We'll hear from OPIC. Sheldon?
Hi, good morning, Chairwoman,
Morning.
Commissioner, General Counsel, and the Executive Director's attorney and staff. I'm Sheldon Wayne for OPIC. With respect to the Commission's consideration of the proposal for decision and the related record in this matter, after examining the evidence and the argument presented, OPIC maintains the position taken in our closing brief that the application should be granted. We found that the applicants met their burden of proof on the 5 issues referred by the Commission for consideration at the hearing and agree with the administrative law judges that the final draft permit should be issued. With regard to the contested issue of water quality and its related issue of dissolved oxygen, OPIC found that the deficiencies alleged by the protestants, such as whether it was appropriate to use default hydraulic coefficients and to supplement the Qualtex model with the CSTR model, what constitutes appropriate element lengths, and how the model should be segmented, were adequately addressed by the executive director, and that the final draft permit has been demonstrated to be protective of water quality. On behalf of TCEQ, the executive director engaged in 2 separate rounds of modeling. The first utilized only a Qualtex model. The second round was performed specifically in response to protestants' concerns and utilized both the Qualtex and CSTR models. As a result of the additional modeling, the ED revised the draft permit and required more stringent limits than originally proposed. OPIC agrees with the ED that the use of the Qualtex and CSTR models was reasonable. And further, because sufficient site-specific data was not available, it was reasonable to use an uncalibrated Qualtex model. OPIC was also persuaded by the ED's testimony that the CSTR model was a better fit for Price Lake than the Qualtex model, because the TCEQ standard operating procedures recommend the use of CSTR for lakes. The ED also determined that it was appropriate to model a backwater portion of Price Lake that was not included in the original model. It was this backwater portion that the ED ultimately found was most critical to the dissolved oxygen modeling, as it was found to contain the lowest dissolved oxygen levels. The totality of the modeling efforts confirmed that as long as the discharge meets the revised effluent limits, dissolved oxygen levels in Price Lake, including the backwater portion and all along the discharge route, will be protected and maintained. Additionally, OPIC found that the ED's testimony adequately addressed the protestants' concerns about element length, model segmentation, and masking areas with depressed levels of dissolved oxygen. OPIC agrees with the executive director that the models employed an appropriate amount of scrutiny and are consistent with review of other similar applications. We also found it persuasive that the executive director did use shorter element lengths in the critical areas of the Price Lake backwaters. Regarding the other referred issues, OPIC agrees with the ALJs that the protestants did not challenge or otherwise present sufficient evidence to rebut the prima facie demonstration. In sum, after consideration of the record in this matter, OPIC finds that the preponderance of evidence demonstrates that the applicants have carried their burden of proof on this application. Therefore, we respectfully recommend adopting the ALJ's proposal for decision, incorporating the corrections as recommended by the executive director in her exceptions letter and reflected in the corrected proposed order issued by the ALJs, and issuing the final draft permit as recommended by the proposal for decision. Thank you, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Sheldon. Mr. Gregg, you have 3 minutes and 37 seconds remaining. I'm not sure you have anything to rebut, but you're welcome to use that time. Perfect. Thank you. Colleagues, I've reviewed the record and the ALJ's PFD and the proposed order and agree with their recommendations, including the changes the ALJs agreed to and the reply to the exceptions letter. I believe the record evidence supports the ALJ's recommendations in this matter, as well as permit issuance. So I issue the permit, adopt the RTC to the extent it is consistent with the final draft permit and the commission's orders, and adopt the ALJ proposed order with some small revisions. First, I agree with the changes that the ED proposes and the ALJs agree to in the reply to the exceptions. Second, for clarity, I would add that the permit shall be issued to ordering provision 1. Finally, I would adopt an ordering provision stating that the RTC is adopted to the extent it is consistent with the order and final draft permit. I'll stop and ask my fellow commissioners their thoughts.
I'm in agreement.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
I'm also in agreement.
Wonderful, thank you. Do we have a motion?
I move that we adopt the administrative law judge's proposed order with the following amendments. A, revise the proposed order as recommended in the ALJ's reply to exceptions letter dated April 14th, 2025. B, add, quote, and the permit shall be issued, end quote, to the end of ordering provision 1 for clarification. And C, add ordering provision 2A, stating, quote, the commission adopts the executive director's response to comments to the extent consistent with this order and the final draft permit in accordance with 30 Texas Administrative Code, section 50.117F, end quote. Further move that we issue the ED's draft permit as amended during the SOA proceeding, and that we adopt the executive director's response to comments to the extent consistent with the commission's order and the draft permit as revised during the SOA proceeding.
I second the motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion passes. Thank you. Let's move on to item number 2, please. I'll give y'all a little time to shuffle.
Item number 2 is the consideration of the application by PC2 LLC for a permit to authorize a new Type 1 municipal solid waste landfill, MSW permit number 2406. The parties have been notified that the commissioners will not take oral argument but may ask questions, and those that are signed in will be noted for the record.
Well, good morning. Before us, we have an application to authorize a new Type 1 landfill in San Jacinto County. We received numerous hearing requests on this matter. For these type of applications, the commission considers a 2-step analysis. First, we determine whether a hearing requester is an affected person. If there are affected hearing requesters, we then consider whether an affected person raised issues in their hearing requests that are referable to SOA. So let's talk about effectiveness. Regarding effectiveness, which determines who has the right to a hearing, a requester must explain how they will be affected by the application in a way that's not common to members of the general public. The hearing requester must also file both timely comments and a hearing request that identifies both their personal interests and the concerns they have. Finally, the identified concerns must be within the commission's jurisdiction to address in the authorization. There was one hearing requester that I found satisfied the requirements to be an affected person, Houston San Jacinto Ranch LLC. This requester is located in close proximity to the landfill and explained how impacts from the landfill would personally affect it and its property, including concerns regarding groundwater, water quality, odor, and vectors. For Sarah Linsky, I think there is a question as to whether she still resides or owns property near the landfill boundary and would qualify as an affected person. So I recommend that we refer her hearing request to SOA for an effectiveness determination. For the remaining hearing requesters, many of these individuals were located many miles from the proposed facility and at such distances are unlikely to be impacted in a manner uncommon to the general public. Other requesters failed to identify how the facility would impact them personally or affect their property or residents, raising concerns for others rather for themselves. So I would deny the other requesters. I will stop here and see what Commissioners Janeka and Gonzalez think.
I'm comfortable moving forward with you as you've laid out.
I saw it the same way as you did, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gonzalez. So let's talk about the issues. Moving on to the second part of our analysis on issues, the affected person raised relevant and material issues concerning water quality, including the protection of drinking water and groundwater, health, endangered species, odors, vectors, and the accuracy of the permit application. These issues are within the Commission's jurisdiction to consider for this type of application, so I would recommend that we send these issues to SOA. I would also recommend denying the request for reconsideration. I don't believe they've raised new relevant and material information that would cause the Commission to reconsider the Executive Director's decision at this time. Finally, I would recommend a 180-day hearing duration and a concurrent referral to TCEQ's ADR program. Colleagues?
Which, I'm just wanting to make sure I understand which of the issues that you had identified to make sure the list I've found lines up.
We have issues. Do you want to read it?
I'm in agreement.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
I'm also in agreement.
thank you very much. Hold 1 second. I move to grant the hearing requests of Houston San Jacinto Ranch LLC. 2, refer Sarah Linsky to SOA for an effectiveness determination. 3, deny the remaining requests for hearing and all requests for reconsideration. 4, refer the application to SOA for a contested case hearing on the following issues. A, whether the application and draft permit contains sufficient control measures to protect groundwater, surface water, and drinking water as required by applicable rules. B, whether data and information in the application is substantially complete and accurate. C, whether the draft permit is protective of the health of affected families and persons and their families. And D, whether the application adequately protects the threatened and endangered species in accordance with applicable rules. E, whether the application and draft permit propose adequate measures to prevent nuisance conditions such as odor in accordance with applicable rules. F, whether the application and draft permit adequately address the control of vectors at the proposed facility in accordance with applicable TCEQ rules. And G, whether the landfill gas management plan meets all applicable rule requirements. 5, deny all remaining issues. 6, refer the matter to TCEQ's alternative dispute resolution program concurrently with the SOA preliminary hearing process. And 7, set a hearing duration of 180 days from the date of the preliminary hearing until the proposal for decision is issued.
I second that motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. The motion passes. We will move on, please, to the enforcement docket.
That brings us to the enforcement docket. Those are items 3 through 16, and the executive director's staff is here to present these matters.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chairwoman, Commissioners, General Counsel, and Public Interest Counsel. For the record, my name is Melissa Cordell of the Enforcement Division, and with me today are Amy Sedemeyer, also of the Enforcement Division, and Gitanjali Yadav of the Litigation Division, representing the Executive Director. Pending before you are items 3 through 16. The total assessed administrative penalties are $309,797, with $58,868 deferred, $86,134 applied for supplemental environmental projects, and $164,795 to the general revenue. We respectfully request approval of these items and are available to answer any questions you may have.
Wonderful. Any questions? Do we have anyone signed in on these items?
On item 3, there's an individual, and 17, item 3, we have an individual who's available for questions, but didn't ask to address the commission.
Do we have any questions on item 3? Commissioner Gonzalez?
No, no questions. Thank you.
Thanks. Garrett?
Good morning, Chairwoman and Commissioners. For the record, I'm Garrett Arthur, TCEQ Public Interest Counsel. OPIC has reviewed each of these enforcement items, and we support adoption of all the orders presented by ED staff.
Thank you very much. Thank you to everyone in the Enforcement Division for your work on these items. I'm prepared to move forward with all of them today. Commissioners?
Likewise, seeing ahead, I would move that we adopt items 3 through 16 as recommended today by the Executive Director.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Right. Motion passes. Thank you. Thank y'all.
Okay, that brings us to our public comment session. The commission will receive comments from the public on any matters within the jurisdiction of the TCEQ in accordance with Texas Water Code Section 5.112, except for pending permit matters or other contested cases which are subject to the ex parte prohibition found in the Texas Government Code. In the interest of time, speakers will be limited to 3 minutes each, with the total time for public comment limited to 1 hour. Please note that the commission's discussion of subjects for which public notice has not been given are limited to statements of specific factual responses and recitation of existing policy. So we'll begin with Ms. Annie Spade, who's here with us in person.
Good morning, Chairwoman, Commissioners.
Morning.
Usually see her right here. Anyway. My name is Annie Spade. I live at 13508 Trail Driver in Eastern Hayes County for the last 30 years. Chairwoman Pop, I was here in January for your first morning, and my heart was cheered when you happily accepted this new position as something you could do for all our children and grandchildren. I want them to inherit a healthy and prosperous Texas, you said. I have also been thinking about the children, as I always do. In March of last year, I completed a 42-year career in Montessori with 2 to 6-year-olds. I wasn't sure what I'd be doing when I finished such a lengthy career. I thought maybe I'd be consulting in schools or developing nature programs. Instead, I've been partnering with others to understand how to create localized, sustainable way of life to secure our future here in Texas, that even our children, including my 5 young granddaughters, may continue to thrive and grow in this bioregional living space. I am also now active with CAPE, an alliance which includes hundreds of residents as well as the directors of several coastal organizations, as you may know. Though Mr. Errol Summerlin lives now in Maryland due to medical needs for a member of his family, Errol continues to convene and expertly guide our monthly meetings. We had one just last night, following up on the recent legislative session in which there were items we were quite pleased as well. I first met Errol and CAPE members here at TCEQ in 2018 for final arguments on air quality monitoring for what was then the largest plastics making facility in the world. The hearing ended with the commission declining to require fence line monitoring of the air quality, telling the executives, and I quote, "You'll be good neighbors, won't you?" At last count, we had 33 plastics making facilities, which with so much more proposed to be added on our beautiful coast, as you know. But the commission continues to lack requirements for fence line monitoring of air quality, or even best practices for filtering microplastics. At this point, the overuse of resources and potential for pollution can make such ventures seem pure folly. We of CAPE urge you to proceed with the utmost wisdom and caution. Chairwomen, commissioners, it's interesting that the root for both conservative and conservation is to conserve. My prayer is that the commission may guide this conservative state in living up to all the meanings of that word. Thank you for your patient listening and best regards to you.
Thank you so much. In 42 years in the education sector, shaping the next generation, really extraordinary. Thank you so much for spending that time with our children and grandchildren.
Yes, all 5 of my granddaughters came through the Montessori school. Such a gift.
Lovely. And I appreciate you retiring after public service, because education is public service, no matter where you are, and picking up the mantle and working for the beautiful state of Texas to keep it beautiful and safe. So appreciate you.
Thank you very much, Chairwoman.
Errol Summerlin, who's virtual.
Mr. Summerlin, are you there?
Yes, Chairwoman. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. My name is Errol Summerlin, and I'm a co-founder of CAPE, the Coastal Alliance to Protect Our Environment. After living in Portland, Texas for 40 years, I had to relocate to Maryland for family health reasons. On May 1 last month, I provided public comments, suggested to you that the public perceives you as living in a bubble, unable to see, smell, hear, or feel the impacts of industries located in the backyards of communities. Much to my surprise, each of you responded. Commissioner Gonzalez stating she grew up in Pasadena, Commissioner Janeca inviting us to call his office, and Commissioner Pop suggesting we might meet with her during a planned trip to Corpus Christi on June 2nd. The web administrator must have been surprised as well, since I had difficulty coordinating the mute button as I attempted to confirm that it would be a pleasure to meet with you. Now, I don't want Commissioner Janeca to be disappointed I did not reach out to him, but I had to jump on Commissioner Pop's invitation. I conferred with folks in the Coastal Bend. They were enthusiastic at the prospect of meeting with the chair. So I called the chair the following week. The phone just kept ringing, never went to voicemail. Then I called the chair's executive assistant, Susie Smith, detailing a message about my reason for calling. I waited for a call back, but never received one. So I called the chair's senior advisor, Patrick Lopez, with a detailed message. So June 2nd is come and gone. I suspect the general counsel may have dissuaded the chair from meeting with us due to the many pending matters CAPE members have before the commission and the fear of ex parte communications. It's unfortunate because we may never be able to meet with you for that reason. If there is a structured manner in which we can meet, I look forward to discussing that. Nevertheless, yes.
I was unable to attend our meetings in Corpus because I had trees that had fallen on my house. We had a big storm in Austin and I had no power for 4 days. And I felt like I could not leave my family in that state and travel to Corpus. We are absolutely rescheduling that trip. I was very upset to miss it, but I intend to meet with you when I can. But it was a family emergency. I really don't appreciate this comment from you. That's all I have to say.
Well, Madam Chair, I don't mean to offend you, but a call back over the course of a month would have been at least courteous. And you know, we would still love to meet with you. I'm sorry that you experienced what you did, and I understand why you did not come. But in terms of waiting for weeks for a callback merely to see if we could arrange such a meeting, it was the point of my conversation or my comment here today. Nevertheless, I'm suggesting that, you know, if any of you would like to come, we'd like to give you a tour as well, and talk in particular, talk about traveling down what we call the belly of the beast, Buddy Lawrence Drive, then up the spine of the beast, which would be up River Road, around the Joe Fulton corridor, which is actually a beautiful place and a beautiful drive along Oasis Bay but there's a stark difference between the mountains of Petcoke right next to the roseate spoonbills that are feeding in the marshes there. The tour and our idea of meeting with you. Okay, let me just I appreciate your comment, Chairman Paul, and we would like to meet with you, and we'll look forward to further discussions, and perhaps if there is a way that I can communicate with you, please tell me, because the methods in which that I tried over the past 3 weeks or 4 weeks were not successful. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I apologize for miscommunication. I'm not sure what happened, but I do know that Austin was in a state of emergency after the storm with all the trees and all the debris. Apologies for that. Email me directly, Mr. Sumlin. And that way I can communicate with you and ensure that the proper correspondence is occurring. And again, I fully intend to reschedule my trip down to the coast. I do not live in a bubble. I'd like to see all the refineries and like to see your tour and meet with all the stakeholders. And that's what I intended to do. But I had to dig a tree out of my house. So apologies for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Your email address is not, I don't know if you want to.
I'll talk offline
provide-
with you, Mr. Summerlin.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, and we have Silas Jones, also virtual.
Mr. Jones? Mr. Jones, are you there? It appears that Mr. Jones has dropped off.
That's correct. He's not showing up on the webinar right now.
All right. Well, with that, we will move to items 18.
Yes, the next items are for closed session. The commission will meet in closed session in conference room 246 of the Texas Workforce Commission to like 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Approximately.
Let's say a good 10.
Okay, 1027. As permitted by the Open Meetings Act, including Texas Government Code Sections 551071 and 551074, to take up and consider matters pursuant to items numbered 18 through 21 as posted and noticed.
Thank you. This meeting stands in recess. Commission is back in session.
The commission met in room 246 of the Texas Workforce Commission for closed session from 10:27 a.m. until 11:07 a.m. on items number 19 as posted and noticed pursuant to the Texas Government Code, section 551.074. No action was taken in closed session, but I understand the commission has a motion on item number 19.
I do. I move to give an annual raise to our general counsel, Mary Smith.
I second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. The agenda is now adjourned. The time is 11:12.